Daly Show.
All right, welcome back. Kate Daly Show at your service. So glad you're listening. We're 26 million served on podcasts of this here live show. And you can go get that at katedalyradio.com. katedalyradio.com. Okay. Also, I have a request. And if you have an IRA just sitting there, if you have a savings account, if you have a pension, please get it backed up by gold and silver. It doesn't cost you anything to do this because of a tax loophole, and they'll show you how to do this. They'll help you do it if you want, and it doesn't cost you anything to do this. Why would you not do it? I would highly recommend this for your accounts that are just sitting out there. On top of that, I would buy gold and silver, and the place that I buy gold and silver from is Birch Gold. So text 989898. They're going to give you some free information on this. It's definitely worth it. Highly, highly recommend. I'm not going to recommend something to you that wouldn't be worth your while. It's definitely worth your while. Okay. Please text this number with your phone in your hand right now. 989898. They're just going to give you some free information. You don't even have to talk to anybody. Nothing. You just are. They're going to send you what they have just produced because they're updating it all the time for what's happening right now. And it's definitely worth sharing with your spouse, your family, friends. Just text my name, Kate, Kate. So Birch Gold, the phone number on your text is 989898. Okay. And then just text my name, Kate, Kate. Okay. And get the info. Just get the info at least. Highly, highly recommend. Susan? I got Susan Reeve with me, followed by Midwest Melissa today, always on Wednesday. And Susan brings with her all of her, what we can fit into this hour, right? Research, there's so much that you have, but there's lots of censorship, all kinds of stuff coming up. So take the floor.
Lots of censorship. There's a bigger issue that they're dealing with, and it's having to do with children. So I mentioned earlier that a woman in the news who runs Ballerina Farm with her husband. She's been awesome. A ballerina. They met, yes, Needleman. And
she was Mrs. America. She's got 8 little kids, and you'd never know it. She looks like she's 18. She's gorgeous.
Yes, and they run a farm. They have 50 employees. And this UK Times reporter, who was a single woman, came and interviewed her and then just really slanted it like she's oppressed and just
for raising children, for raising her kids, for wanting to teach them how to do things and raise them properly. Like really a wonderful mother. And this unhappy liberal joke of a person in the UK who, no man's going to touch that woman. Anyways, that's probably why she's so bitter. Most liberal women are. And she writes this scathing piece. Oh,
right. And they were so taken aback because that had not been their experience with this reporter. They thought they were doing really well, and they'd been interviewed many times before, but it caused like a cultural backlash. Like, how valuable is what she's doing, and why does it strike such a nerve? And there was an article in The Atlantic, and I love to read articles in The Atlantic, even though it's super liberal, because it tells me what they're suffering with, what is really bugging them. And they wrote an article called The Real Reason People Aren't Having Kids. The United States is down to 1.62 kids per person. And in 1960, it was 3.6. South Korea, it's 0.72. I mean, they are so low. So South Korea government spent $200 billion in all these subsidies and all these things to encourage people to have kids. And it didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah. And they said, well, if we are giving money to people, if we're helping them, and they're saying there's economic concerns, what really is at the core? And what they really found, what this author really found, was it was a lack of meaning. Why are we having kids? What is the value of children? And my personal sentiment is you can't have such enthusiasm in abortion, just, celebrating your abortion, and then think kids are valuable. It really makes no sense, right? It's kind of undermined the value of kids. And then they say, why should we sacrifice for kids? Because kids are a sacrifice. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
To a certain extent, they are, but they also bring you so much joy. That's another relationship you have. And I don't know if you found this, Kate, but your kids grow up and then as adults, they become like your best friends.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Yeah. Before the show, my son came over. He doesn't live with us because he's a grown man, but he came over for an early lunch. I mean, I'll tell you, it's nice to be able to have them as adults and be able to talk to them about things. It's just amazing. I wouldn't trade it for anything. My kids and I are really close. I love it. Yeah. It's my
It,
happiness.
it, exactly. And so you're not just having little kids, they
Hmm.
will grow up into people. And so she also said, we pray about whether or not we're going to have another one, and we really feel like, this isn't something important to God. And
Good
so
for her.
huge segments of the secular young women population can't understand it. Can't
Yeah.
They don't have the same values. They don't share our values.
They don't want
And
to.
so
They don't want to. They
they
think what
don't
we're
want
doing is
to.
hideous, yet these are the most unhappy people on earth telling everybody who's doing what wrong, right? And it's amazing to me because I grew up in California. Oh, I know I threw up in my mouth a little bit when I said that, but I grew up in California. Couldn't wait to get out because there were so many liberal jokes of womanhood there, and they didn't understand women, and they were angry and bitter. And most liberal women are. I find them to be atrocious women that I would not ever want to be around. And I don't think they understand what unhappiness seethes from every pore of their body. But you can tell in that article, because I did check that out, because I order from Ballerina Farms once in a while, and I love Ballerina Farms. I think they do a great thing. And I'll tell you, you can tell how angry and bitter and unhappy this woman is. This single woman is from from the UK.
Yeah,
I don't want her
yeah.
life.
The reporter, and
Yeah.
she had this really great quote about how at some time she said, I quoted my grandfather, that at every point in your life you're going to need a doctor, a lawyer, a fireman, but
Hmm.
3 times a day you need a farmer.
Yeah.
And so she came from a family that was in the floral business, family of 8 or 9. He came from the JetBlue family,
Hmm.
airlines, but he came from a big family too. These are people who value the relationships in a family. And
Most
the
normal people do.
left has gone so far afield, it is
Hmm.
not something that
Right.
they prioritize.
You were mentioning on the break the pregnant Olympians. I loved seeing this. I thought this was amazing because Simone. I know everybody is on this big thing with Simone.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
look at her. She's the goat, right? Greatest of all time. But she's very pro-abortion, and she came from the foster care system, and she wasn't aborted, but she's pro-abortion. And I always find that those bitter, horrible little women out there that are pro-abortion, pro-murder, pro tearing apart a baby in the womb, while it tries to get away, are just pretty horrid. And I always find it ironic when they are not a product of abortion, but they want other children to be.
Oh, it's the biggest irony. Like
Amazing.
they climbed up the ladder and now they're pulling the ladder up. And you're referring to Dr. Nathanson, who was so pro abortion, did 60,000 abortions with his colleagues as he was
Hmm.
running the clinic, and then did video of an ultrasound and during an abortion and saw the baby pulling
Like
away
trying to
from
move.
the shrub. Yes. And he became so pro life. He was Jewish, he became
Yes.
Catholic. And he said it terrified him to think about what God was going to say to him when he died. So that's what you were
He should
referring
be.
to.
Yeah, he should be terrified.
Yeah.
They should all be. And I've never met more horrible, horrible people than those that are pro abortion. I'm sorry. I'm very black and white on that issue. It's very emotional to me and very fact based at the same time to me that anyone who has a voice did not get aborted, yet they call for the abortion and the murder and the tearing apart in the womb of other babies. You know, it's horrific. It's horrific on every level. I have no patience for it, and I can't stand the women that stand there and go pro-abortion. I'm like, are you a moron or are you just evil? Can't decide. Be right back on the Kate Daly Show. I know I'm harsh on that one.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware.